am literally physically ill over this Surgeon General nomination. The nomination of Nicole Saphier, a radiologist, a breast imager, someone who is not even a clinician, for a job that concerns public health and public policy. We need someone in that role like Casey Means, like the person that they passed over, someone who is brilliant, who graduated top of her class in medical school and realized all the things that were wrong about our system and spent her career fixing them, spent her career making millions of people better and healthier. And instead, we nominate this person who is wholly unqualified, who will be nothing but a setback for all of us. How can this happen? We would have been better off with Peter Attia, and he's a pedophile.
Oh my God. Welcome to Dead Air. My name is Dean Blundell. DeanBlundell.substack.com, here with two of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Steve Schmidt from The Warning and Dr. Angela Rasmussen from Substack. I believe it's called Rasmussen Retorts. We have a lot to get to today, and the reason why we wanted to play that clip is because America's crazy. There's craziness going on in the United States of America. That is an influencer trying to bring Casey Means back, who took a bunch of mushrooms and talked to trees to manifest a husband, into the conversation of Surgeon General. She's out. Nicole Saphier's in, who's not much better. They are just running around trying to nominate as many crackpots as possible for positions in the United States cabinet, and that is on today. So we've got a great panel for everybody. Welcome to Dead Air, again brought to you by our friends at the Save America movement. We've got some Fauci news to get to. We've got some New York Times interview with Tucker Carlson that lit the world on fire. We got to start here, Steve. We got to start here, Ange. I mean, your thoughts on the
it's incredible that, like,
I'm sorry.
She said that out loud.
Yeah.
Said it out loud. Really amazing. But it is sad to see Casey Means.
Right.
You know, she won't be the Attorney General. But apparently
Surgeon General.
I
hope she's not the Attorney General.
Surgeon General.
Surgeon General.
Even worse.
Surgeon General.
She's not qualified for that either.
You know, thank God. The Surgeon General, Casey Means.
I mean, the problem is she's still going to be around. Like, she's just going to join as, advisor like her brother is doing. And so she's not going to have the platform to sell all of her stuff. Like, she won't have the uniform. She won't be able to basically use the Surgeon General's office to sell all of her sponsored products on.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, anybody that gets nominated for a position with Maha has a litany of products and snake oil that they like to sell people. And Nicole Saphier, the new, Attorney General nominee from the Trump regime, sells all this shit. Dandelion elixir, brain food, tinctures that help calm your inner spirit. And Casey Means no different. She's got this flax oil seed business. She's also got some kind of magic female powder for magic female parts that she likes to hawk online too. I mean, this is just 101 when it comes to the Maha grift, to Angie's point. I mean, this is I mean, I laugh if it wasn't so sad, because I shouldn't be laughing, because it is sad, but that's what this is. This is just the grift regime, and she's just another one of those grifters. Not even a doctor, Ange.
Oh, she is a doctor. No, she actually, unlike Casey Means, so Nicole Saphier is even a little bit more dangerous, right? Because she actually is a board-certified radiologist. She was the director of a Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New Jersey's breast imaging center. So breast imaging people, they do read films, but technically they are clinicians. They do see patients. So she is qualified to be Surgeon General. So that's a step up from Casey Means. She has also said some things that are sort of approving of some vaccines. But historically, during the COVID pandemic, she was a Fox News contributor the entire time. She was not only selling her tinctures and all of her supplements, which many of them, as you pointed out, Dean, do. Most of them do. She will now be able to do that as the Surgeon General. So she'll be able to make recommendations as America's doctor that people should use echinacea or whatever instead of, a flu shot to prevent seasonal influenza.
Steve?
Well, I was just thinking about how when we were in Washington a week ago, I didn't know this. You told me about this. You're a little bit more fashion forward than I am, but apparently there's a new fashion where men are wearing the sweater vest,
Mhm.
but they're wearing it sleeveless, and
Yes.
so the male will have the sweater vest on, but there's no t-shirt underneath, as was common, let's say, in the 80s. You know, little V-neck on the sweater there, nothing underneath, just skin. And I couldn't believe it when you told me about it, and I hadn't seen it, and then I started seeing it this week. I started seeing that you were right, and I started seeing it everywhere. And yesterday I was in a parking lot, and I look over, and honestly, right next to me, guy, huge hairy shoulder, heavy set fella,
Yeah.
but he's got the sweater vest on, nothing underneath. He's parked right next to me, and I was upset by this. I thought it was very alarming witness, and I went home, and I didn't know that the next Surgeon General was associated with that uh, dandelion potion. But I had some of it, and I got into a bath, and I made a huge bath out of that stuff, and it was incredibly calming, and it settled me down from that guy with the vest, and I can't even believe it. What was amazing about it too, I was even watching Fox News, and so I felt better right away, and just so she's qualified, of course. She's from Fox News, and she's got some potions and lotions and
Yeah.
all sorts of different notions about what to do with them. And but for me, it helped because when I saw that guy, I was unsettled and I needed something to calm me down. And that dandelion um,
Elixir.
elixir was it. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. I think it's a good one.
I
Well,
think it's a good one. And if you want to take that instead of a flu vaccine, we're a free country. Do it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Freedom.
All you
that's the real
people have
thing.
like enough coddling all these people.
Yeah, that's right. Let him take it. Yeah. Ange?
I was just going to say that Nicole Saphier makes up vaccine mandates. It is a free country, right? Like you can totally take a dandelion bath if you want instead of flu vaccines. I like taking baths, but I also like taking vaccines, so I do both. But you can do whatever you want. There's no such thing as actually a vaccine mandate. So for all the people, including Nicole, who confused a vote about the Vaccines for Children program, which is a program that funds about 60% of all childhood vaccines for kids who can't afford vaccines for themselves.
Yeah.
He misinterpreted funding for the Vaccines for Children program as a vaccine mandate where children were going to be forcibly vaccinated. And protested this, on Fox News and elsewhere very vocally. And this was one of her problems. But the problem is, like that actually didn't happen. There was no such thing as a mandate where we were going to forcibly vaccinate kids. So she's that kind of Maha person where she seems normal and she's got a pretty consensus position on some things, but then she's like falling for this vaccines for children shit and saying that it's a vaccine mandate when it's not, and still saying that years later when it's been pointed out to her that it's not.
So, Ange, I got to ask you, where do they find these crackpots? Like, what is it? What does it take for the regime, in your mind? What are they looking for? Because we just motored past Casey Means, and Casey Means, and I'm not kidding you, has like a 12-step program on how to manifest a husband by running through the woods nude after doing a hero dose of mushrooms. Like she's literally got a 12-step program. She's also got like these manifestation videos where you can manifest there's a surgeon general as we're talking about. So she gets passed over because she's embarrassing. This is no less embarrassing with just an extra level of qualification. So what are they doing? Like in your mind, put yourself in RFK's shoes, put yourself in Maha's shoes. What are they looking for in someone? Are they looking for a lemming? Or are they looking for someone that can help them make a bunch of money on the? What are they looking for? Someone they can just control.
They're looking for somebody who's not going to cost them the midterm elections. And what they have decided and what they're seeing is that all of RFK Jr.'s crazy anti-vax Maha shit is not going over well with the average voter who's not already fully converted.
Mm.
People do like the food stuff, kind of. And, this is the thing that's really insidious about Maha. Like, who is going to say, no, I don't want people to have healthier food? Like nobody is for unhealthier food or worse nutrition. So everybody is like into that part of Maha pretty much. And so they get people in the door with that and people like that, but then they don't actually like the crazy stuff. So RFK has reportedly been told to like stick the crazy stuff to the side, pretend to be normal. They've got this guy, Chris Klomp, who's the senior advisor for HHS or the senior counselor, this position they made up, who is like basically running everything so that it seems more normal, like a regular functioning HHS, where everybody's still anti-vax and crazy. They're just quieter about it, and they seem just like a regular old bumbling, like incompetent person, rather than, somebody who's a complete and total nut job.
Mm.
Trump is for unhealthy food, and RFK is actually too, because when you get right down to it, and this is not my area of expertise, but Maha like nutrition is insane. It's like seed oils, which,
Wait
yay,
till you find out
Saskatchewan,
about the
we love our
poetry.
canola oil up
What?
here.
Wait till you find out about the what?
The poetry.
I'm going to let Dean tell you about the poetry, but I mean, you have this just completely ridiculous logic where it's like seed oils are bad because we made it up. We don't like seed oils because basically Canada makes more of them than the US. But we don't like seed oils. Everything's got to be beef tallow, but we're still serving you McDonald's fries. So it's not like we're eating better. We're just telling people to like eat steaks and like beef tallow instead of like the same shit, but with seed oil.
Mm.
So it's not even really like healthier food. It's just shit that they made up so that they can sell people
Right.
more stuff and also so that they can justify getting rid of real experts and real science.
Because you're listening to somebody who works out in jeans, that's the
And looks to
going
Kid
on here.
Rock for athletic,
Well,
tips and tricks.
We got a lot going on. I don't know. Like, I think we take her, right? She's like the medical, right? The medical side of it. You get Judge Jeannie, Judge Janine. You get them into a convertible together, and they go around the country. Maybe with Meghan McCain in the back seat. It'd be an incredible MAGA show. Special Fox hour. I would definitely.
Could I just like follow them in a
Yeah.
rental car or something
Sure.
and just like torment them everywhere they stop?
What would you want to do to them? I mean,
I could have a vaccination, like mobile vaccination station following them everywhere they go and answer people's questions
On their world tour.
on
Well,
a world tour. I'll leave a stream of immunity in my path.
Yeah, as you do, Dr. Angela Rasmussen. Steve, sorry, you're going to say something there?
No. I was just, I was just thinking about a commentator who will remain nameless, but was speculating about the future probable contribution of Tucker Carlson to the 2028 campaign. And I was like, wow, wasn't it just a few months ago he was talking about he was besieged by demons in his sleep in the middle of the night as we're having a science-based conversation?
Yeah.
He was attacked by demons.
Yeah.
Demons.
Yeah, dude. And it's a good perspective. Specifically in light of the conversation. because you're starting to see, these weird. I don't know if you saw the New York Times interview with Tucker Carlson this weekend. It is, and you can see them all trying to separate themselves. And to Angie's greater point, as a virologist and a doctor and someone who is a doctor when it comes to studying and preventing infectious disease and one of the world's most renowned, you're talking about that maha sort of attitude living within each one of these people, right? It wasn't long ago that Tucker Carlson was talking about sun tanning his taint and how it's good for you. If you remember that, you get this special taint sun tanning machine. It's like this thing you put underneath
Red light.
your undercarriage. It's a red light you put underneath your undercarriage that increases your sperm count and your testosterone. Sure.
Was this again? Was this when he was on Fox? Like, what was this
No,
about?
it was a show. It was a movie that he got that a documentary put together on Fox about what it
About
meant
men.
to be a real man. And so he talked to all these men that engaged in these Maha activities. Andrew, if you remember that correctly.
I
And
do.
he talked to the Liver King guy. He talked
Yeah.
to, which is eating raw liver. Later found out he was just jacked up on steroids. It wasn't about liver. Yeah, the Liver King. True story. He lost everything after that. My favorite part of that whole thing was when he's like, I talked to this guy who likes to suntan his taint, and I'm like, and he doesn't say taint. Obviously, everybody knows what that area of the body is on a man, and there are machines that this guy sells
Yeah.
on the ad hoc sort of wellness maha circuit, and there's a bunch of this stuff out there. I mean,
Yeah.
the face masks that
Well,
you
you got
put on it, yeah, all that stuff. And what he did was for an hour a day, he would sit, strategically on this thing that would, blast infrared light, Ange, if I'm not mistaken, into that.
Just red, I think.
And it apparently increased your sperm count by 1,000,000%, or something, God forbid. And then, it did something else to your prostate, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, that whole through line exists in every fractured part of MAGA, Ange, to your point.
No, I mean, they all get into this stuff, and conveniently, they all seem to sell and supply this stuff too. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I mean, the technical term is perineum, but use red light there. They have like a chode
It's nowhere
shape.
near as fun as taint, by
They
the
have
way.
a chode shaped. Chode is from my neck of the United States.
Oh yeah, chode's a
Um,
good one too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good one.
yeah,
They have that shaped, to like spread light there, as you
Mm.
pointed out, so that you
yeah.
can incorporate this into your daily, like, masculinity routine.
So you're saying, like, I didn't know this, but he's a scientist.
Tucker
In it,
Carlson.
yeah, in addition to being a spiritual leader.
His roots are in the Swanson's frozen food company, so,
Right.
perhaps there was some sort of science involved in
No, but
building.
you bring up a good point. I mean, it's the spiritual with him, and I want to get to the New York Times thing in just a second because he's falling apart at the seams as well. This MAGA fracture, and it lives in this insanity that we're talking about today. But to your point, the story that he tells about the demon, which is one of my all-time favorites, is I came home from a business trip.
Mhm.
I walked in and my wife looked at my back. She's like, "What are all those scratches on your back?" He's like, "Honey, I didn't want to tell you this, but I was sexually assaulted by a demon in my bed last night at a Hampton Inn and Suites." Like,
What was the demon's name? What did she order at the Hampton Inn Bar?
Now, in
Chardonnay or
are those the factual details of the story, or
yes, sir.
did the details take place in the marital bed? Was his wife a witness to this demon attack?
No.
For some reason, I thought that he woke up in the morning and said to his wife that, "Behold these scratches on my back. I have been attacked by a demon."
No,
It's
it was
crazy.
after he
Okay.
came home,
Okay.
scratches on the back. Wife's like, "What happened?" He's like, I got to tell you, spiritual warfare.
I think
Spiritual
I know where
warfare.
to pick this up, though. Like, there is an organization, it's now called the Independent Medical Alliance. It used to be called Frontline COVID Care, Critical COVID Care, something or another. They're ivermectin people, basically. They're ivermectin grifters, and some of them were January Sixers. There was one of these ladies named Stella Emanuel who literally gave a press conference in Washington, D.C., where she said in front of the nation that there are devils in semen, and nocturnal emissions will allow demons to come forth from you while you sleep. And this can all make you more susceptible to things like COVID, which is, if these demons are visiting you, like potentially you're going to get COVID, you're also going to get spiritually, potentially
I
raped by
believe
these
that.
demons, and you might like it. And if so, then you are a demon yourself. And this is the entire problem with all of public health. I
That
call her
makes
the
sense to
demon
me.
semen lady for short.
The demon semen lady. Steve,
It
what'd you
makes
say?
sense to me. I
I buy that.
yeah.
I mean, she was like in
it's a lot.
2020. She was
Oh,
like original pandemic like material. So Tucker Carlson stole that one.
So, but he went out and said in public that this happened to him,
mhm.
that he put his head down like we all do for a night's rest, and he was interrupted during that sleep by an assault by demons, uh, waging spiritual warfare against him.
Mhm.
All that's good, all that's right in the world, and but he made it through, and now he's being interviewed by the New York Times, who have gone to the Tucker Carlson compound in Maine to seek a deeper understanding with Tucker Carlson, who doesn't need to be probed anymore. But at any rate, he does this interview, and they delve into the theological. And I know we have that clip to share, and I found it inspirational, to be honest.
I'm sure you did. Let's play that clip.
On your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in
Correct.
ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further, saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what a tangled web we weave when at first we practice to deceive. That is insanity, dude. And that guy is going to run for president, Steve.
There is.
That's
What outfit do you like better? Do you like Tucker in sweater, or do you like the checked shirt? What do you have
I would have preferred him to see him in one of those skinless sweater vests that we opened the show with today, just see what he's got. I mean, that's insanity. Like it's spiritual insanity, and they mix it up with scientific proof. They mix it up with things that we know to be true. But this isn't just mixing it up. This is insanity. This is insanity. That entire New York Times video, if you watched it, and I know he's trying desperately to present himself as sane in the moment when America's collapsing because he wants to peel himself out of the insanity that we're talking right now. But he jumps back into the insanity with both feet, Steve. That's not very presidential, saying, I didn't say that.
I just want to mark time and a place, and in all seriousness, and I've said this since he did the Mike Huckabee interview in Israel. He's running for president in 2028, and he has an outstanding chance to be the Republican nominee. And he's going to run on the platform that you saw basically sketched out in that Huckabee interview and further articulated in this New York Times interview, this America First position. And his anti-Semitism, which of course he denounces, is very, very clever. It's very, very sophisticated. He's no Nick Fuentes, who he's an apologist for in the interview, who he won't back away from, who he won't condemn. When you look at Tucker Carlson, what you have to remember is this is a person who injected a poison back into the society, which was replacement theory. He mainstreamed it. This is the cornerstone of white supremacy, of white nationalism. It was the keystone of Nazism to understand at a dogma level what animated it. Replacement theory. He's a very dangerous and very exceptionally talented demagogue. There's a question, what comes next after Trump? And he is a picture coming into focus of what comes next after Donald Trump. And so you look right now at the conversation, and that conversation through the through the eyes of the people who sit looking at the stage during the correspondence dinner, is that it's a contest between J.D. Vance, who's really not sustainable as a national candidate, and Marco Rubio. And neither of them are as smart as Tucker Carlson, as disciplined as Tucker Carlson, have the reach, size, audience of Tucker Carlson, and all of them will be annihilated on a debate stage by Tucker Carlson as they're trying to defend Trump's war in Iran, that he has no easy way out of. And each week we get on, we do these things, right? We'll be at the 75-day mark next Monday when we're on television. And so all of this is an indicator of where MAGA is headed, what the schism is. And Tucker Carlson has all the skills required to go in there and to pick up disaffected pieces of Maha, disaffected pieces of MAGA, to encourage the anti-Semites, to stoke them, to welcome them in as Trump fades away, increasingly erratic, sick, twisted, and unable to even speak coherently.
What do you? I want to get into the anti-Semitism part because you're seeing that real rise, right? And it's as disgusting as it is concerning. But Steve, what does that mean to you when you say he's going to embrace that? And is there that anti-Semitic movement? Is it big enough within MAGA? Is it big enough within the GOP to even matter? Because it seems like it would be a disqualifier on the front end for a guy like him running for office. Nonetheless, the taint sunning and the demon rape.
I think that there is a outbreak of anti-Semitism that is able to be evidenced all over the Western world. And it should always be appreciated that anti-Semitism is like a cancer siren. When you see anti-Semitism rise to discernible levels, when it becomes part of the mainstream in a democracy, what that signals is a rottenness, is a disease in the democracy. And we see on a decade-long basis, we see a rise in Jew hate, on Jew blame, and on Holocaust revisionism, and a tolerance for extreme elements around Donald Trump, around MAGA, and sometimes on the left of the Democratic Party as well. And so that is happening, and that is being driven in part by the revulsion of so many people in the world to the actions of the Netanyahu government, and are unable to distinguish the actions of a government from a state, from a people, from a faith, and or see or appreciate the great diversity of opinion on all of these issues, including across all the diaspora across the world, in the Jewish community, where there's deep unsettlement about what's happening. But anti-Semitism, at some level, coagulates around this notion of collective guilt, collective punishment, that there's a conspiracy and all Jews are somehow involved in a conspiracy. What's the conspiracy? You know, the conspiracy is always at the head of a convoluted tale that at the end, the person, the target of the demagogue, has always been put down, lost out, been victimized. His grievances are justified. It's the philosophy of the loser, and always the Jew at the head of the conspiracy. And so this deserves condemnation. The rank bigotry deserves condemnation. You see this bleaching into it, infecting the Department of Defense, which outrageously calls itself the Department of War under the leadership of Pete Hegseth, who's a bigot, a man who jumped on a table, said, kill all the Muslims, who's festooned with white nationalist, Christian crusader tattoos, who's self-evidently anti-Catholic, his pastor's an anti-Catholic bigot. He banned Catholic services at the Pentagon on Good Friday. And his pastor, a whack job of some renown, even in a sea of whack jobs in that rattlesnake handling evangelical grift community. This is a guy who says that the relationship between master and slave was terrific, mutually beneficial. Every woman should be a trad wife, home, barefoot, and pregnant, and that we ought to live under a religious theocracy and be ruled by men like him who interpret for us what God's will and rule will be. And what results from that is the deadliest and most evil form of government that can conceivably be created by the mind of man.
Well said. I mean, we're talking about, there you go, a little bit of that, some kakalaka. This is the language of MAGA. That is, but these are pillars of craziness, right? And these pillars of craziness, they're mainstream in the United States, right? The anti-Semitism pillar, that's mainstream. They've been able to really horse collar the Jewish community and the Jewish faith with all kinds of crimes against humanity that don't exist. And Tucker Carlson is ground zero for that, as is Nick Fuentes, both of them. And then you bleed into what we're talking about today. And Ange, I think this is a question for you. That other pillar of bunk science, and not just bunk science, but how many times have I heard Tucker Carlson repeat these words? Don't trust experts. RFK Jr., don't trust experts. The rolling back of that expertise in the progressive society that we've been in, that has been able to understand not just what the Holocaust means, not just understanding why we need to stand up against anti-Semitism and all kinds of religious hate in every single forms and all kinds of marginalizing hate, but he is the representative of that. And I want to kind of get into that other pillar, which is the anti-science stuff, because we're now seeing them weaponize the anti-science stuff. And we'll get to a Fauci aide that was arrested in just a second. But I find it unbelievable that they've been able to find a mass audience, and you would understand how and who is accepting of these pillars of ridiculousness, whether they be anti-Semitism or anti-science or anti-expert. But if in your mind, when you look at it from a medical perspective, a science perspective, being an expert in your field, how do you justify, oh my God, I cannot believe they've got mass appeal in a community where they might actually run this guy into the White House and it might work, because it's all ridiculousness to me.
No, I mean, that's what I think about all the time, because honestly, myself, all of my field, we have been going through things thinking that people would actually respect our expertise and that they would, consider our expertise when we have an opinion versus somebody like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. having an opinion. And it used to be that people did. And now, because of so much propaganda, because of all of the disinformation, and people don't like that word anymore, but that's what it is. I mean, RFK and the anti-vaxxers have been spreading lies and spreading propaganda to make people more accepting of all of these ideas for a very long time. And the scientific community, myself included, did not understand that that's what this was all about. It's only been in the past year, I think, that most of us who actually do see this see the depletion of science as one more step in the cementing of authoritarian power in the United States. And that's because that's how it happened in, for example, Stalinist Russia. Removing science, removing expertise, and replacing it with political scientific expertise was a major mechanism by which Stalin centralized power and maintained it. I mean, they literally outlawed Mendelian genetics under Lysenkoism and starved millions of people. So it's never good when this happens, but it has happened before, and it's been very effective for the dictators who are doing it. Now, during Stalin and Lysenko's time, and this partly had to do with some of the politics at the time and Leon Trotsky, but there was a huge element of anti-Semitism as well that was incorporated directly into the anti-science attitudes. And what ended up happening was an entire generation of scientists effectively dying in gulags, disproportionately Jewish scientists. And that effectively ruined science in the Soviet Union. In fact, that's why my husband, who is a PhD scientist who was trained in the Soviet Union, moved to the United States, because the damage that had been done then was so severe that it could never be repaired, and Soviet science could never catch up to the rest of the world.
Are we there in the United States right now? Are we on the precipice of that right now?
We're on the precipice of that for sure. I mean, it will take the rest of my lifetime to rebuild what has been lost already. I don't think people understand completely that when people lose NIH grants, when they lose billions of dollars in NIH grants, that's billions of dollars lost from the economy and billions of jobs lost. I don't think people are recognizing that because it's not something that you see immediately when a grant gets cut. And it's also not clear because there's been so much sort of administrative screwing around, like which grants exactly have been cut. But there have been huge cuts. Grants are not being funded like they were, which means that these projects are not going forward. Our science is stalling. That means our economy is going to stall. That means all of our innovation is going to stall. And let's just use AI to replace all of it is not the solution. They are trying to effectively steal our entire science budget and our entire economic and innovative future to redirect it to the executive branch, as they've been trying to do since day one.
Steve, thoughts?
Well, I think that I don't disagree with anything that Angie said whatsoever about the propaganda, the misinformation, and all of it. But at the same time, just as is the case with our state of government that left the door unlocked for MAGA, it is the case that the scientific community set in motion in many ways, and during COVID, with some disastrous lapses in judgment, events that have fueled an anti-science rebellion politically. And it's very important, I think, to appreciate that as a key to working our way through it and out of it. There's not an institution in the country who will not be catastrophically impacted by these years of Donald Trump and the vandals around him. The military is one. The scientific community is another. The executive branch and agencies, from education to the trade departments to the ambassadorial corps, institutions that projected soft power like USAID, the Peace Corps. I mean, imagining what comes next is going to be something that requires a lot of talent, a lot of skill, a lot of ability to be able to articulate it. It's a supreme political test. And one of the things that Democrats have to be able to talk about is science, and to be able to talk about artificial intelligence, and to be able to refute some of the nonsense that comes out of the mouths of the tech oligarchs. That is the foundation for being able to talk about the data centers and the draws on energy and water and all of the things that come with that. And so these are all issues that, in my mind, are threshold ones for Democrats to start thinking about. Not the politics that was, because it's gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes next, and what does rebuilding America's scientific capabilities and rigging America for the remaining 75 years, 74 years of this century as the world's preeminent scientific power. And so we're going to suffer in the United States because of Donald Trump's idiocy. And there's a lot of cohorts of population that have and will and do more so. But all of us collectively who use fuel, who are engaged and involved in the economy in some manner, are going to be impacted by this war in enormous ways in our day-to-day lives, our daily lives over the next couple of months. And that reality, that shared pain, is gonna help people, I think, be more clear-eyed about all the things that are going on. Listen, if you were in a melanoma trial on the edge of life-saving vaccines, right? First time real hope. This administration canceled them, gave you a death sentence, right? That's not a cohort of millions of people. It's a small sample, but it all adds up. And everywhere you look, there's been a regression back from the pinnacle of human knowledge when we should have been moving forward. And these are the words that John Kennedy talked about in his last speech about progress. We stopped progressing. We fell backwards. And that's a terrible thing in a great power. And that's why people are writing articles about great power suicide and talking about the appropriateness of that term to describe what's happening in the United States. This is what Abraham Lincoln wrote about, that if the country was ever to crack up, it would crack up internally through a form of suicide. And I think it's exactly what you're seeing.
Oh, well said. A great roundup. It's not just the propaganda that's killing democracy. It's not just propaganda that's making you sick and will for generations. It's the weaponization of that propaganda. We saw that with the arrest of a Fauci aide the other day. And I'm never shocked. Obviously, the seashell indictment didn't shock me because it's the seashell indictment, but it's the weaponization of that. And to go after this Fauci aide. Now you're intimately familiar with this story, Ange. Walk us through this if you can, because we're now in the age of, hey, we're just looking for pelts. We're looking for pelts so we can put on the mantle and say, see, these experts, they hate you. They want to make you sick. They're not good for you. But walk me through this Fauci aide arrest if you can, because it's fascinating to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was a witness to the crime in this indictment, or at least one of them. Basically, David Morens was a senior aide to Tony Fauci at NIAID when he was the director of NIAID. David is an epidemiologist and physician who has been with the Public Health Service for his entire career. He's a career government servant and employee who was working in this capacity towards the end of his career. And he had, had some conversations with Fauci about the fact that he uses his NIH phone for personal stuff, and he uses his Gmail sometimes for stuff, and he uses NIH email, and talking about public records laws and that sort of thing. So to send some academic emails that were blowing off some steam about colleagues, cautioned that we should use his Gmail so that it doesn't fall subject to public records laws. And nobody really engaged with this. So we all saw him ask us to evade public records laws. We didn't really comply. We just kept, continuing in this email thread because it was a bunch of academic colleagues just talking to each other. This has now been turned into an indictment that could lead to him spending 58 years in prison for violating public records laws, which again, he did, but to cover up the fact that Fauci was trying to cover up the fact that he started the pandemic, which there is no evidence that he did that. Part of the reason for this, I think, is that May 11th will be the expiration of the statute of limitations on getting Fauci for perjury in 2023, which is something that Senator Rand Paul would very much like to do and is tweeting about on a near daily basis, if they can, I guess, overturn the auto pen or whatever on Fauci's pardon. So really, David Morans is just a tool to get to Fauci. But he's 78 years old. He's a very nice man. He has a Substack that's about the history of epidemiology that you should check out. And he was making coffee one morning when they sent 2 SWAT teams to come in, tackle him, strip him, cuff him, and perp walk him out of his house. I think that seems a bit excessive for somebody who has been accused of asking people to use his Gmail instead of his NIH email so that he can talk shit about his colleagues without it ending up in the paper. So
That is
that's
unbelievable.
it.
That
Yeah,
is
it's
see,
Well, I
and
disagree. They should have shot him in the leg.
I'm glad that they didn't. I love David, and his Substack is really good.
yeah.
He has a really great essay about Rinderpest.
Steve?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I want to say something about like Fauci. And I'll come back to that in a second. But this is, wow, what an abuse of power. And so let's remember, so what he did was improper, and it violated federal law or a rule at a minimum about a public record. So if he's on an email and he's conducting government business, he cannot go off the email to something that shields a required public record lawfully. But if you wanted to go and to say that we're going to have a softball group, or we're going to a Springsteen show, or Joe, Irene, and Eileen are all assholes and we want to talk shit about them, you can most certainly go set up whatever outside communication channel you want to do so. So I don't know what any of the details of what it is that he supposedly did or did not, any
It
of
wasn't
the
that.
details of the
That
of the of
I
the of
saw
the
it.
allegations, other than to say in America you're innocent until proven guilty. I do know this. I know that Pete Hegseth was on a Signal account as Secretary of Defense, which is by orders of magnitude, by light years more serious than anything this guy did, talking about classified war plans, right? And so this is selective prosecution and a political decision by the FBI director, who should not be involved in the curation of an arrest of a political foe to bring about maximum public embarrassment or humiliation. And so when you talk about being excessive, I think all the FBI agents should appreciate you go on raids like that. Maybe you'll be dealing with someone like me in the next administration who doesn't think it's excessive to take your badge and gun away. Right? Because of your appalling judgment and your inability to say no and meet the high standards of the renewed FBI, where integrity is restored from the awfulness of what's going on. And what I would say about Fauci is, in all of this, is that he's a public health expert, he's a doctor, and he's not a politician. And I think too many politicians abdicated their responsibilities to a public health doctor who made specific recommendations on the basis of his expertise, which was an expertise in a thing, not in all things. And his thing that he was an expert in was an important consideration, but was not the sole consideration. And therefore, we got a lot of bad judgment by politicians on, for example, school openings and or closures over a period of time that did a lot of damage to kids. And those decisions made by politicians, coupled with an insanity in the internet culture, has set off a fever of speculation and conspiracy and anxiety, all of it stoked by Donald Trump, who mishandled the pandemic as grotesquely as anyone could mishandle it, even to such an insane degree that he won't take credit for his signal accomplishment, which is Operation Warp Speed, which was getting the vaccine cut and done in record amount of time. It's but I think it's important for Democrats to appreciate that there's a lot of second guessing about their political decisions during that period of time, and to appreciate the degree to which it fueled Trump's comeback. And we should all understand that. And to appreciate when we talk about the science and the indictment of this guy, that is just a grotesque abuse of power, a theater, prosecution theater for Fox News to go get their stigmatized enemy, the malevolent Fauci, who's a version of Voldemort for all these crazy people.
Yeah, he's a vehicle. He's a vehicle for that hatred. He's a vehicle for the misinformation. I want to pivot real quick too. It's a story. We got a few minutes left. That grows by numbers daily, not just in people reading it. That's why we call this dead air. This is not getting, none of these conversations we're having are getting their proper treatment with mainstream media, not in Trump-aligned media, Trump state media, nothing in the United States. The dereliction of duty has been absolutely incredible, which is why Steve and I do this twice a week. It's to inform you of things that you don't hear. One of the things that you're not hearing a lot about in fits and starts is this rash of dead scientists around the United States of America. And just to give you some real quick Coles notes, this is from CNN. Nuclear physicist, MIT professor shot outside his Massachusetts residence. Retired Air Force general missing from his New Mexico home. Aerospace engineer disappeared during a hike in Los Angeles. Among 10 individuals connected with sensitive nuclear and aerospace research who've died or disappeared in recent years. There's now a federal investigation, and I don't trust anything via this government to investigate jack shit to begin with. But I don't know where to start in terms of trying to understand why this is happening. Maybe you guys do. Ange, we'll start with you. We'll go to Steve.
From what I can tell, this is just made up. Like these people have died, and like some of them like worked for national labs or worked in aerospace or worked like with NASA, or one guy was in the Air Force, and like one guy wasn't even an aerospace engineer or a scientist. He was like a YouTube guy who was bad at YouTube and was in debt and shot himself. And a couple others had like mental health problems. And yeah, it's like all experimental anti-gravity work and stuff, but like they're all into UFOs and stuff. So from what I can, the guy at MIT, for example, he was shot by a former colleague who then went to Brown and shot a bunch more people. I don't know that this is some kind of like government conspiracy to cover up something, and so therefore like all these like physicists and aerospace people are disappearing. It doesn't really make any sense to me, and I've been looking into it with Denver Riggleman, who is also a friend of Sam's, and it's pretty fucking stupid to be perfectly honest. From what I can tell. Like the disappearing scientists. The disappearing scientists that I'm more concerned with are all of my colleagues who are losing grants and having to shut down their labs.
Oh, those are real disappearing scientists.
Yeah.
This is an op. Steve, you're smiling. I want your thoughts because
Well, like, I mean, so like I've seen the story, and when you see it, I think like any normal person, I read it and I'm like, that's not good at all.
I
and
wish the
and
show Unsolved Mysteries was
and
still on.
then you try to, can this conceivably be real? And you sort through it. I mean, when you consider how many people work for these labs and facilities in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands, yeah, I mean, some of them are going to die. And is that a conspiracy? It's not. And so you just really don't have a way of even sorting through what's real. Is it the truth? But imagining that it was real and it was happening,
That's more fun.
you would have no way of being able to process the threat in a democratic society because there's no person in the government who would be talking about it who you could conceivably trust, starting with Kash Patel and on down through the media. So even if it was true and it was happening, what would the difference be if it was not true? Right? And that's the problem in the age of insanity that we're living through right now, is the inability to orient around anything and to get in touch, to let gravity do its work.
Mm.
Really, really an astonishing moment in the sociology of our civilization.
Especially in the post-truth society that we live
Yeah.
in, you can turn anything into anything, and if it is something, you might think it's nothing, right? And that's the shame. I mean, we've talked kind of all about it today, and we've circled the wagons about this post-truth society we live in, the death of the expert, trying to nominate total fucking crackpots to be surgeon generals when they're not, selling elixirs and magic potions and lotions on the side. Whether it's Tucker Carlson having sex with demons, or that's the excuse he gives the wife when he gets home, and I mean, everything sits in the ethereal, everything sits in the conspiracy, and so I really appreciate Ange you breaking that down for us, because to me it was like this nebulous story, but to Steve, which it is, to Steve's greater point, and to you and your incredible research and how you followed this thing up, and you kind of understand these are just most people dying of natural causes, losing their mind, could be health concerns, could be mental health concerns. And Steve's bigger point too, you got a couple 100,000 scientists running around there with some pretty serious, nuclear atomic knowledge. Everybody's going to die at some point, and I get it. But to that, when you read it on its face, it's not good. But the fucking crazy part is it's being treated like it's a legitimate story. It's being treated like it's legitimate because the FBI started an investigation. Well, the FBI just indicted James Comey for arranging seashells on the beach. So, it's fascinating, and I'm glad I got a chance to sit down and kind of sort through a bunch of this stuff with you guys. I know it's fun, but it's also scary, and absolutely love the fact that we got a chance to get Ange on the show today, Dr. Angela Rasmussen. Rasmussen Retorts is where you'll find her on Substack. She's on the steering committee for the Save America movement. She is a virologist. She is an infectious disease expert. She is at the top of the class when it comes to understanding what's going on around us in a very, very serious way, medically, in a very serious way, where it's real science, and it's the loss of your expertise in these fields that bothers me the most as well, and I know that to be true. So I really appreciate you stopping by. Everybody go follow Ange Rasmussen Retorts, Dr. Angela Rasmussen, here on Substack. You need her in your life. Hit the Chiron here at the top of the Substack thing, and of course, Mr. Steve Schmidt, who's always able to thread that needle over at The Warning, and obviously a co-founder of the Save America movement. We can have some fun and talk about this stuff. There's a seriousness to it if you want the cycle to stop, Steve. And that cycle needs to stop. You can't have a Tucker Carlson walking into the fucking Oval Office in 2029. You just
No.
can't.
This is a dangerous demagogic figure, and you don't entertain it at any level, the legitimacy of it uh, at any level.
Yeah.
Not for a second, not for an instant. You oppose it, you call it out all the way. But I was thinking that if Angie disappeared tonight, a week from now, how would we cover it? Would we say it's connected, or
Yeah,
Would you
I
come
would.
look for me? Like try to find me?
I would. Yeah, I'd come find you. I think you're the best. I love Ange. I would come and find you. I'd get an away team Steve and I would get our horses out. He's proficient on horseback. We would
We go look for
traverse
you.
America for you.
Come look.
Ange. Oh, we got Liberty vans for that. The Sam Liberty
Yeah.
vans.
You come
Yeah,
look.
you put your
That's what I'm
face on
looking
it.
for.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Come. We look. We search.
Yeah, and we get Paula White to send up some of those magic prayers too, right, Paula?
Well, it
She'd do
worked.
that.
We were waiting for you to join today, and you were a lot of people. Now, I just want to say, for the record, I won't indict Angie here. She can speak for herself, but there were some people, let's just say, who were they were doubting Thomases about whether you were going to make it for the broadcast. I never doubted whatsoever, but I did pray in the words of Pastor Paula, and I did the Nucka Lucka Cucka Lucka prayer.
It worked.
That's what I was saying. I was doing it, and all of a sudden you appeared, and I was like, "Holy shit, that worked!" And I would do that prayer again.
Thanks, buddy.
Right, to see, because it made him appear.
Yeah.
Right, if it would work on you, if you had disappeared with other scientists alone or in a group, that it would bring you back.
Horseback and magic prayers, speaking in
Got
tongues.
that going for us in the
Yeah.
search for Angie Rasmussen.
We'd find you.
Part
We'd
one.
find you.
Not reverting to Christo-fascism yet. Sorry, guys.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say, I don't read a lot of fiction, but I would like to endorse this book. Right, this is an incredible book.
Oh my God, everybody's talking about this.
This is yesteryear. And
Yesteryear.
This is by a first-time author, Caro Claire Burke, and the plot of this book is a trad wife, a beautiful trad wife, Natalie, who is perfect at living life. She wakes up in 1855, and her adventure continues. This is an incredible book.
Yesteryear. I'll get it. Thanks for the tip.
It's totally amazing.
All right. We'll go find that. Steve,
fiction book.
follow him. It's not so fiction-y right now. Follow Steve at The Warning as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Schmidt on Substack. Give him a follow. Hit that on the Chiron. And as always, please, please, please visit the SaveAmericaMovement.org. Please become a member. Please donate if you can. It is the largest citizen-led expedition of people who are trying to fight for democracy in the United States of America. It is about what is right. It is about what is wrong. It is about delineating between those two things. It is apolitical. The only bias is standing up for democracy, freedom, true freedom of the American people, and to give you your country back. TheSaveAmericaMovement.org. Please give them a sub right here on Substack as well. You'll see it in the Chiron at the Save America Movement right here on Substack. Thank you very much for joining us for Dead Air, folks. We try to get to some stuff that you normally wouldn't hear on MSM because they don't want you to hear it, and that is the purpose of it. Thanks, Ange. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Anytime.
The CDC recommends everyone without contraindications over 6 months of age and older should get it. Last year's vaccine had an efficacy of keeping people out of the doctor's office and out of the hospital by a little bit less than 50%. Now, does that mean that everyone needs to go get one? This is really just up to you and the individual. But obviously you want to talk to your doctor, especially if you're high risk.
Okay, so you know me, Nicole, I will not take a flu vaccine, but I do want to boost my immunity. So what can I do for that?
Well, same here. I love prevention is the best key. You also know that I love to take liquid vitamin herbs. My favorite are echinacea, elderberry, garlic. You, of course, want to be getting your vitamin C and going outside to the sunlight, getting that beautiful vitamin D. I'll post on my social media after the segment some of my favorite things that I take to try and prevent some illness as we head into cold and flu season.